Atlas! Mr. Grantham, what shall we do with these monsters?
Burn them. Throw them into the furnace. Let them crisp.
Yeah, but are you sure about this? I mean, they're alive. It's a horrible way to...
They're sinners, a disease that pollutes our world. We need not any such creatures amongst us.
Yes, sir.
Sir, Helga, panting like a weakling. What do you want? Someone's jumped. What are you talking about? You know, like there's a few broken bones and vital liquid on the floor. Well, hurry up and clean it up then. Whatever you say, sir. Junie, come here, sweetie.
Yes?
Tell Christoph to board up every window in this house. No one's getting out. And as he knows, this house rewards the obedient. That any gremlin who begs to differ shall linger.
Mercy pivots towards me.
She eyes me with disgust, like I am some evil villain out of a horror movie. What?
I gasp. She says I left her. How she almost lost herself forever as a lonely little girl.
Damaged by loss and grief.
I bite my lip.
Look at what's down there. We don't have time to bicker over trivial matters in this situation.
She boils with rage, looking back and forth from me to the scorched patients at the bottom of the stairs, like she's anticipating to throw me down the steps.
She's a menace. Trauma turned her cold and bold.
Krish scans the upstairs hallway.
We need to find a way out.
He looks at the handrails, the doors leading into each room, but it looks like the only way is down, with a bit of space to spare. I stare down at one of the patients just gaping into my eyes.
They remind me of a zombie, but ghostly, with translucent skin barely clinging to its skeletal frame. Its jaw hangs loose, like it's been bashed in. A mephitic mist surrounds its feet, and it stares as if it's establishing my worst nightmare.
Rick studies me before opening his mouth.
Oi!
I side-eye him, and he gestures with
focus.
Our hearts jump as Mercy pounds at a door. Rick hurries over, but her force has already busted open the entry. Mercy dashes into the room. She screams.
A frozen patient with a melted face stares with a look of misery.
Rick arrives and drags her out and boots down another door, while me, Krish and Cynthia conjure a plan. Mercy goes into another room, but stops and stares out of a window. Rick rolls in and observes her demeanor. She turns around and looks at him with a tender expression. He shakes his head.
What's wrong?
She turns back to the window.
We're not getting out.
She spins around to him.
There's nowhere to go.
He broods at the floor and at his watch, then focuses his thoughts towards the window. He scurries towards it, takes out his car key, and presses the panic button. Outside turns pitch black, and the car alarm blares. Rick and Mercy are bewildered. It's like he's hit the panic button to switch the sunlight off. Krish calls out,
Rick, Mercy, let's go!
They both leave the room. Me, Cynthia, and Chris are already halfway down the stairs. The scorched patients glance around, scratch the walls, spew chaos, and rip their hair out from the sound of the car alarm. Rick says we must hurry, that the alarm will only last a minute or so, and after that, we might be doomed. As we run downstairs, some of the scorched patients look like dark figures, hiding between the pillars as it's pitched black. Their faces, barely seen, but pale and hollow. Their eyes glow with a roguish look, while the air gets thick and musty. This place echoes with distant hollow whispers and fleeting figures that dart past doors and into the dark corners. A faint voice murmurs in the distance. But we're too scared, so we ignore. Now we venture deeper in. A room with unsettling symbols are etched into the wall by a patient's trembling hands. These symbols carve a sense of despair into the atmosphere and emanate an emotional, empty voice. They turn to us with a profound, soul-crushing smile and whisper, "Do you know what I've been through? Not even the sanguine flood can wipe away these waves." We deliver a vacant stare when Cynthia enacts a sneaky jitter. I falter, and my heart shatters that I signal for us to move along. Suddenly, I quickly usher everyone into a room. Mercy frowns, Cynthia's lips twist. "Stay," I say, and cue everyone to remain mute. We all begin to shiver. Cold air withers and wafts as I speak. It's too cold, but something tells me to stay and wait. "What's gotten into ya, mate?" Rick whispers with a heavy breath. I don't respond. I just look at every single one of them with eyes that transfer a formidable trust. A good 15 seconds fly by when a strange tall shadow slowly slinks across the hallway. It unnaturally stretches and morphs into an unknown entity, absorbing any sign of light that touches it. It looks in with a terrible wide grin that spreads across its face. Its eyes flicker between hollow voids and glowing orbs at every blink. And it breathes with a sickly noise. Cynthia gasps for her breath, and before she even realizes, it stretches out its bony, ashen joint and yanks her away into the abyss. Sinfi, troubled by misery, bound to her feelings of always feeling like a burden, looked for, searched for, needing to be fixed when always lost. I creep towards the door, poking my head out in case this unknown entity reaches for my gut, or a scorched patient decides to deluge me in deception. But for some reason, I give us the all clear. Now we move stealthy out of the room and move slowly up this hallway, taking a slight breather in front of a weathered stone pillar that's draped in prickly ivy. The air, now warped in age whiskey vomit and neglect. Shush, shh, shh. Mercy gestures. She puts her ear to the pillar, and it pulsates with a heart of its own. She whispers, "The house is alive." Forget that. What was that thing, man?
And those shadows.
Krish says.
They're Scorchers.
We all spin around to Eslin, who stands there with an otherworldly shine that grips her face.
They occupy the liminal space between the shadow world and the dimensional rift of chaos.
This isn't Eslin. It's somebody else. Where is she? What have you done to her? I shout. She huffs and explains that she's free of a defiled spirit, and that we must continue our endeavors to depart from this nut house. But how can we trust her? How, when Oren haunts these old, beautiful carvings with the weight of countless forgotten souls? How?
Follow me,
She says and walks off, while iterating that she thinks she knows where Cynthia is. Gosh, I hate when she does this. We follow through this vault of hell that clings to my skin like a damp shroud. We pass through a doorway that yawns open like a mouth, and we pause every time we hear the sound of a screeching, distant whisper. Unwelcoming. Old wood groans, and every step leaves a metallic, sharp taste in my mouth. Ripples of distortion, no discernible walls. This unseen space watches, its invisible eyes burning into my back. No matter where I turn, it's unbreakable. A cold breeze whips in, some type of cursed wind. I try to shake it off, but it grows stronger, more intrusive, peeling back my thoughts, studying me in ways no living thing should. I feel like something's waiting, and I don't want to know what it's waiting for. Then I abruptly stop when Eslin's body begins to blend gently into the darkness. An ethereal look that's translucent, weightless, almost faceless. Everyone looks back at me as if I'm not real, like there's something wrong with my image, squinting at me like I'm part of a gruesome spillage. But I dismiss, muttering under my breath and gesturing them to carry on. And they do. A drifting, off-key giggle of a little girl lingers in all directions. breaking into jarring cries.
Tune out,
Eslin says quietly, with no trace of terror in her veins.
A small frame skitters across in front of us.
What the heck was that?
Rick anxiously whispers when we pause and liberate a ragged breath.
That figure unnatural, unbound by the rules of space and time.
Eslin turns around and quickly utters,
It's Elvira, Esmorton's sister.
"Es who?" I express, but she brushes it away, advancing into the crevice. This long stretch, with walls stained with age, and rooms either side with faint glowing hues. The smell, sour freshness, assaulting my senses. Garbage stench that leaves our clothes drenched. These voices, hushed murmurs of names, too dreadful to be spoken clearly. Unparalleled foreign language. Their syllables, harsh and struggling to hold their form.
I itch at the rich ticks. I scratch at the side of my back.
A sinister taste sticks to the roof of my mouth, with earthy notes ending with a rotten tartness that hints at a strange danger in these rooms, and my nerves fray at the aftertaste. Krish suddenly screams. He says prickly fingertips touch the inside of his hips, feeling like the cartilage had been ripped and ligaments had been flipped. As we approach the first room, with a purple wavering hue, a scorcher clad in a gown that ripples with every movement, finishes etching the symbol of an all-seeing eye looking down onto a labyrinth into the wall. They turn around, eyes gleaming with a malevolent existence. Their features, well defined with a soulless smile that we don't even flinch. Then, in a blink of an eye, they fade into an outline of darkness that distorts and bleeds into the surrounding room, charging at us with an unholy force that promises us something more than darkness.